JavaScript offers a few different ways to declare functions. In this lesson, we will explore function expressions and arrow functions. These concepts provide flexibility in how and where you create functions, and arrow functions offer a more concise syntax. Function expressions involve assigning a function to a variable. Let's write a function expression that adds an item to our shopping cart. Let shopping cart is an empty array, and then let add item is function item, and then in the function, let's write shopping cart push an item. And then to call this function, we can write add item catnip, and for example, add item canned food. And then let's console log shopping cart, and we get 2 items. In this example, we created an anonymous function, which is a function without a name, and then we assigned this function to the variable add item. Now we can call the function using the variable add item. Now, we would like to be able to return the count of the items in the shopping cart and also print the state of the cart to the console. Let's try this. Let item count is a function that returns shopping cart length. And let's also list the items in the cart separated by a comma. So a variable let item list is a function that returns shopping cart join items by a comma. And let's console log there are item count, and let's call this function right away, items in your cart, item lists, and let's also call this right away. And we get there are 2 items in your cart, catnip, canned food. This works great, but for short, simple functions like item count and item list, we can use a more concise syntax, arrow functions. Here's how we can rewrite our previous functions using arrow functions. So let item count is parentheses and then an arrow shopping cart length, and item list is parentheses arrow shopping cart joined by a comma. And the result is the same as previously. So there are 2 items in your cart, catnip and canned food. As you can see, we used the arrow function syntax. Now our function's behavior remains the same, but the functions take up only 1 line of code, since we can omit function keyword, curly brackets, and return statements. If you want to include more than one expression in your arrow function, then you must include curly brackets and the return statement. For example, let's rewrite the add item function to an arrow function. So let add item arrow is parentheses item, and then an arrow and curly brackets, console log added item to shopping cart, and let's also return shopping cart push item. And let's console log item count is now add item arrow with an argument toy mouse. Now our add item arrow function prints information about added items and also returns the result of the push method, which is the new length of the shopping cart array using the arrow syntax. However, we usually want to use arrow syntax for short, 1-line functions. To sum up, functions can be assigned to variables using function expressions, allowing more control over their definition and invocation. On the other hand, arrow functions provide a more concise syntax and are ideal for short, simple functions.